What if I told you the thing that will define your success and your significance in the next decade isn't your skills? It's not your resume. It's not even your intelligence. It's your humanity. Not the polished version you post on LinkedIn, but the raw, messy, unautomatable parts. How you imagine when no one's watching. How you empathize when it costs you something. How you create meaning out of chaos. No algorithm will ever understand. In a world addicted to efficiency, the ultimate competitive advantage is being courageously, stubbornly, beautifully human.
Welcome to Passion Struck. Hi, I'm your host, John R. Miles, and on the show, we decipher the secrets, tips, and guidance of the world's most inspiring people and turn their wisdom into practical advice for you and those around you. Our mission is to help you unlock the power of intentionality so that you can become the best version of yourself. If you're new to the show, I offer advice and answer listener questions on Fridays. We have long-form interviews the rest of the week with guests ranging from astronauts to authors, CEOs, creators, innovators, scientists, military leaders, visionaries, and athletes. Now, let's go out there and become passion struck.
For 50 years, we were sold a very specific formula for success. Go to the best school, collect the impressive credentials, outwork everyone, optimize every minute of your life, and you will win the future. That story died the moment ChatGPT wrote a better cover letter in 6 seconds than most of us could in 6 hours. Welcome to the age of acceleration. Information is air. Speed is table stakes. Optimization is now a 20 a month subscription. And yet, think about what actually moved you last week. Was it the fastest email response? The cleanest slide deck? The most optimized workflow? Or was it the text from a friend who remembered the anniversary of your dad's passing? A voice note from your kid that just said, "I miss you today." Or that unexpected moment when someone paused a conversation and asked a question that changed everything. Those moments didn't win because they were efficient. They won because they were human. Those leaps, those turn the course of your life moments, don't come from processing power. They come from lived experience, from scar tissue, from the nights you cried in the dark asking, "Why does any of this matter?" and somehow found an answer worth waking up for. Let me ask you something. Think of the last decision you're genuinely proud of, the one that still feels right in your body. Did you make it because you ran more scenarios, or because you stopped optimizing, got quiet, and listened to a deeper truth inside you? That quiet place is the new scarce resource. The future will not belong to the most productive humans. It will belong to the ones who can harmonize doing with being. Doing can be automated, being cannot. The most valuable person in the next decade won't be the one with the most skills. It will be the one whose humanity has been sharpened by failure, softened by compassion, and deepened by choosing the meaningful thing instead of the efficient thing. Because everything that can be automated will be. Everything that can be commoditized already is. What's always been left is the part of you no machine will ever replace. The part that feels, the part that chooses, the part that loves, the part that decides that some things are worth doing slowly, imperfectly, and entirely human. Hold on to that part. Protect it fiercely. It's not just your humanity. In the world we're stepping into, it's your edge. Here's the simple truth. Once you understand that doing can be automated, but being can't, you start to notice something else. The ideas that you visit at midnight, the instincts that tug at your ribs for reasons you can't explain, the pattern you see that no one else in the room sees. That's not productivity. That's not optimization. That's not a skill you even list on a resume. That right there is creativity, and it's the purest expression of your humanity. Real creativity doesn't come from someone's job title or IQ score. It comes from a life fully felt. It comes from the heartbreak that you didn't think you'd survive, the loss that rearranged your insides, the moment you realized something needed to be said aloud, even if your voice trembled, the contradictions that you've learned to carry in the same chest. I'm scared and I'm ready. I failed and I'm still here. I'm broken and I know there's something in me worth saving. No machine has lived a life like that. No data set contains that level of contradiction or courage. And that's why your creativity is so dangerous, so holy, so irreplaceable. Think about Sarah Blakely in 1998, standing in her apartment, frustrated beyond belief that pantyhose hadn't changed since the 1960s. So she grabs scissors, cuts the feet off, and changes an entire industry. Not because of technology, but because discomfort sparked defiance, and defiance sparked innovation. Or think about Lin-Manuel Miranda in 2008, reading a Hamilton biography by the pool, just 2 pages in, suddenly hearing hip hop in the founding fathers' voices. He's overwhelmed, crying on a lounge chair. Most people would have shrugged and said, "Cool idea," but he followed that whisper until it became a revolution on a Broadway stage. Or think about J.K. Rowling on that delayed Manchester train, ideas arriving faster than she could catch them. No paper, too shy to borrow a pen. So she sits there, letting a world pour through her. A world that one day would allow millions of kids to see themselves as powerful, chosen, and full of possibility. These stories aren't about genius, they're about aliveness, about feeling something so deeply that the universe inside you demands a form outside you. And your creativity comes from that same place. It's in the way you talk your teenager off an emotional cliff by cracking a joke you didn't plan. It's in the email you write for your team that somehow shifts the whole room from panic to possibility. It's the business idea that shows up while you're sitting in traffic because your mind is unguarded enough to wander. In a world drowning in perfect copies, the original becomes priceless. Your creativity isn't your talent, it's your testimony. It's the artifact of every wound you've healed and every hope you've carried, every truth you've had to live through. And here's the part most people forget: creativity is not optional, it's not a nice to have, it's not something quote unquote artists do. It's how humans metabolize life. We take our experiences, the pain, the joy, the confusion, the awe, and we turn them into something: a solution, a sentence, a song, a strategy, a small act of connection that echoes for years. That is the thing no machine will ever replicate. Not because of limitations in code, but because creativity is born from the deeply personal terrain of being alive. So, feed your creativity, protect it from the speed of the world, give it boredom, heartbreak, wonder, long walks, silence, risk. Because the day you sacrifice your weird, wild imagination at the altar of efficiency is the day you start becoming replaceable. And you, with your stories, your scars, your contradictions, your aliveness, were never meant to be replaceable. So here's the truth I want you to hear in your bones: creativity may be the spark, but emotional depth is the oxygen. Your ideas make you irreplaceable, but your humanity is what makes those ideas land. And that brings us to something almost nobody talks about. Because for decades, we've been taught to hide it, downplay it, sanitize it. But in the age of AI, it has quietly become the hardest currency there is. Before we go deeper, let me pause and ask you something. When was the last time you truly felt seen? Not evaluated, not optimized, seen. If you've been following the Irreplaceable series, you already know this. Connection is a superpower, and it starts young. That's why I'm so excited to share my first children's book, You Matter Luma, which is now available for pre-order at Barnes& Noble. It's a beautifully illustrated story about a little bunny who feels too small to matter until she discovers the light inside her can change everything. It's about belonging, empathy, courage, the same themes we explore here every week. When you pre order, you help bring the message of mattering to families, classrooms, and communities everywhere. Just visit youmatterluma.com to learn more. Let's pick up where we left off. We've been conditioned to treat emotional death like the soft stuff, the bonus, the thing you get to after the real work. But emotional death is not soft, it's the hardest currency in the modern world. Empathy builds trust faster than any KPI dashboard could. I've seen billion-dollar deals close, not because someone had the best valuation model, but because one founder looked the other in the eye and said, "Hey, you know what? I know how terrifying this is. I almost lost everything in 2008. In that moment, humanity did what spreadsheets couldn't. Integrity builds a reputation that outlives every title and every exit. People forget metrics, but they remember the time you honored a promise when no one would have known if you walked away. Compassion creates loyalty no compensation package can buy. For instance, I know the owner of a restaurant in St. Petersburg, Florida, who spent the pandemic paying his employees not to work. Not HR, not a script, him. 3 years later, his turnover is almost zero because people don't leave leaders who showed up in the dark. Because people don't leave leaders who showed up in the dark. And presence, real, undistracted presence, creates connection, no filter, no camera angle, no perfectly polished persona can fake. We all know what it feels like when someone is truly with us. No slack, no side eyeing their phone, just two humans breathing the same air. It's rarer than an Ivy League resume and infinitely more valuable. People don't follow perfection, they follow someone who feels like home. Think about the leaders who shaped your life. Were they flawless, or were they the ones who sat beside you in the mess and made you believe you could survive it? People don't pay for information anymore. We're drowning in information. They pay, sometimes desperately, to feel seen, to feel understood, to feel less alone. A therapist isn't paid for memorizing diagnoses. They're paid for the strength to sit in someone else's pain without flinching. A coach doesn't earn $50,000 because they have the best systems. They earn it because when you whisper, "I'm terrified I'm going to fail," they say, "Tell me about the last time you survived something you thought would break you." A creator doesn't build a million-person audience because their edits are perfect. They build it because one day they cried on camera about the divorce or the addiction or the night they almost didn't make it, and strangers whispered back, "Me too." That's emotional depth in action. It's not a liability, it's the performance advantage that compounds over time. The deeper you're willing to go, the higher everyone around you rises. Your emotional depth is not the soft part of your humanity, it is the strongest part, and it's the part that becomes impossible to replace. But here's the thing most people never realize: emotional depth doesn't work in isolation, it only becomes direction, only becomes power when you point it somewhere. Because feeling deeply is one thing, choosing what those feelings are in service of, that's where life actually changes. Creativity gives you new possibilities. Emotional depth gives you the courage to pursue them. But intentionality is what keeps you from building a fast, optimized, beautifully efficient life that you don't even want. So let's talk about the part of humanity AI will never touch, the part where you decide what your life is actually for. Automation ends where meaning begins. Your phone already knows how to run your day. It can fill your calendar, reorder your groceries, write your birthday cards, remind you of anniversaries, even nudge you toward the optimal version of yourself. All of that is convenient, but none of it is meaningful unless you decide what any of it is for. Because your life is not shaped by the tasks you automate, it's shaped by the choices you make on purpose, the ones no algorithm can make for you. Intentionality is the quiet discipline of choosing what deserves your finite energy, what you will protect, even when it's inconvenient, what you will walk away from, even if it looks like success on paper, and who you will become when no one is watching. Those choices build a life, not the optimized ones, the intentional ones. I think about an executive I worked with last year, corner office, seven-figure bonus, the resume people dream about. And he sat across from me and said, I'm terrified I've built the wrong life. I could sympathize with him because I have been that person before. AI could have optimized his next 10 career moves. Only he could choose to step off the ladder, take a 70% pay cut, and move his family across the country to be near his aging parents while he still had time. His kids don't remember the bonus. They remember the father who finally showed up. You see, intentionality rarely looks glamorous. It's like closing the laptop at 5 p.m., even when Slack is still slamming. It looks like having the uncomfortable conversation instead of the efficient one. It looks like choosing the slower, truer path because that's the one that leads you back to yourself. AI will never ask you, is this still who I want to be? It will never sit down with you after a loss and help you decide what matters enough to keep going. This, this meaning making, value choosing, identity shaping space belongs to you alone. The algorithms will keep getting faster. Let them. Your job is to keep getting clearer because the most powerful force in your one wild life is not speed, it's not efficiency, it's certainly not optimization. It's the quiet daily courage to live on purpose. So that's the truth about intentionality. It's not a productivity hack. It's not a morning routine. It's the daily act of choosing what your life is for. And once you understand that, once you realize your choices, not your outputs, shape the only life you get, there's a bigger question waiting underneath all of it. A question this entire series, and honestly, these 200 solo episodes have been pointing toward. A question only you can answer. So here it is. What makes you irreplaceable? Not your output, not your resume, not the number of tabs you can open or how efficiently you power through your day. Those are skills. Useful, sure, but increasingly replicable. What makes you irreplaceable is everything in you that cannot be automated, accelerated, or optimized. You are irreplaceable because you can tell stories no machines will ever understand. Not generic stories, your stories. The night your grandmother didn't come home from the hospital. The moment someone chose you when you didn't feel choosable. The memory you carry of forgiving someone who never apologized. An algorithm can generate 1,000 fictional heartbreaks. Only you can tell the one that actually happened in the voice only you have lived. You are irreplaceable because you can feel things machines will never feel. Grief that sits like a stone in your chest. Joy so sharp it almost scares you. The ache of watching your child step into who they are and away from who they've been to you. A model can describe emotion. It cannot wake up gasping from it. It cannot decide to get out of bed anyway, but you can. You are irreplaceable because you can love in ways machines will never love. Not the curated version, not the emoji version. I'm talking about the love that stays when it's wildly inconvenient. The love that remembers a friend's coffee order 20 years later. The love that sits with someone in their lowest moment with nothing to offer except your presence. That kind of love rewires a life. It heals families. It's the only reason the human story has survived this long. And you are irreplaceable because you can imagine futures machines will never dream. Not the optimized future, not the extrapolated future. I mean the futures that hit you in prayer, in a shower, at a funeral, on a long drive across the country. The futures that demand everything because they feel more true than the present ever did. Those visions have reshaped nations, families, movements, and destinies, and every one of them began in the chest of a single human being. Your humanity isn't the soft edge of your success, it is the sharpest blade you will ever wield. And here's the paradox: the more the world automates everything else, the more your stubborn, messy, loving, dreaming humanity becomes your ultimate advantage. It becomes the reason someone hires you, trusts you, follows you, falls in love with you, remembers you long after you're gone. So stop waiting for permission to be fully human. Stop apologizing for the parts of you that can't be measured. And stop treating your death like a flaw. The machines are coming for everything else. Let them. You were always meant to win by being the one thing they will never be. Unapologetically, irrevocably, beautifully human. So, if all of that is true, if your stories, your imagination, your empathy, your love, your lived humanity are the things that make you irreplaceable, then the question becomes, how do you protect that? How do you sharpen it? How do you live in a world of machines without slowly becoming one? Because being human isn't a one time declaration, it's a daily practice, a choice you make in small, almost invisible ways. And I want to leave you with three of those daily choices: simple, repeatable, transformative. Not hacks, not a 30-day sprint, just three behaviors that over time turn your humanity into a superpower. Let's land this milestone episode here with the practices that keep you unmistakably, undeniably, beautifully human. The first is to build your meaning making muscle. Every night before your head hits the pillow, ask yourself two questions: what happened today? And why did it actually matter? I'm not talking about what you accomplished, not what you checked off a list. Did your day matter to the person you're becoming? Maybe it was a hard conversation you finally had. Maybe it was a stranger's kindness at the grocery store. Maybe it was the way your child hugged you a little longer than usual. 5 sentences is enough. Do that for 30 days and patterns will appear. Do it for a year and you'll realize you weren't just living days, you were building a story. Reflection doesn't slow life down, it gives it direction. And here's the second thing you can do: practice creative courage. Every single day, make one thing that didn't exist yesterday: a voice memo, a scribble, a paragraph in the Notes app, a melody you hum while making coffee, a recipe you invent because you're out of the right ingredient. It doesn't have to be good, it has to be yours. Because creation isn't about output, it's about aliveness. It reminds your nervous system, I don't just consume the world, I shape it. And every small act of creation makes the next one easier. Until I'm not creative turns into, what else have I been wrong about? And third, choose presence over performance. In your next conversation, it doesn't matter who it's with, give someone 3 minutes of undivided attention. Put the phone out of reach, look them in the eyes, listen like their words are the only thing on the planet. That's it. Presence is the rarest currency left on earth. People won't remember your perfect advice. They will remember how you made them feel seen. Do this daily and watch what happens. Relationships deepen, trust grows, and you become the person others feel safe around. That safety, that warmth, that groundedness, that's your humanity at full voltage. Three practices: meaning, creation, connection. Start tonight. No permission needed. No perfect conditions required. Just the quiet decision that your irreplaceable self is worth three small acts of courage every single day. Because the blade only stays sharp when you use it. Friends, we did it. 200 episodes, 200 times we've sat together, you, me, a microphone, and the belief that intentional living still matters. If today's episode gave you a new lens on your humanity or helped you feel a little less alone in the noise, here's how you pay the fee. Share this episode with one person who needs to hear it. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's how new listeners find this movement. Subscribe to theignitedlife.net, my free Substack where I give you takeaways, companion workbooks, and behind-the-scenes insights for every episode. And don't forget, my children's book, You Matter Luma, is now available for pre-order at Barnes & Noble. If you want a child in your life to grow up knowing that they are seen, valued, and never too small to make a difference, this book was written for them. Pre-orders help bring this message of mattering into homes, families, and classrooms everywhere. And next week, we continue The Irreplaceables with a conversation that left me changed. I'm sitting down with Jane Chen for a live discussion, face-to-face. Jane is the co-founder of Embrace Innovations, whose low-cost infant warmer has saved millions of premature babies around the world. We explore the emotional resilience required to change the world, how heartbreak became our purpose, and why human compassion, not technology, remains our most powerful catalyst for change.
I finally connected the dots. Feeling so powerless through my childhood, that's what had driven me to want to help the most powerless people in the world. I had not made that connection before. So my pain had become my purpose, but it was also my shadow because it led me to working in very unhealthy ways, as I said, to the point of just complete burnout, because I also believed that my worth depended on what I achieved. So it wasn't just like the passion and the urgency, but there was this whole thing where my worthiness and sense of enoughness was tangled up in achievement.
Until next time, remember, to matter is to be seen, and the rebels with one gaze, one name, one I noticed. I'm John Miles. This is Passion Struck. Thank you for 200 episodes. Now, go start the revolution.